virality is not sustainable.
No, it's not, which is annoying. If I could just go viral everything I said,
Yep.
I'd appreciate that.
Kendall Jenner.
I would appreciate that.
Here's a new hat for summer that all the celebrities are wearing and everyone likes and everyone thinks is cool. It's an instantaneous transactional buy. Oh yeah, I like that, I'll buy it. And you might regret it in a month, but it doesn't matter, you've already bought it. Whereas B2B SaaS and software, it's not necessarily do I think it's cool or do I like it.
I started imagining like your Simon Sinek's of the world and like getting a few business influencers together and they just all pose this black square on this day.
Alex Hormozy.
Yeah, like everyone does it at once.
Yeah. There's so many influencers now that you can find specific ones. So you can find a e-commerce email marketing expert. That's specific. Mm-hmm. I know some who have 50,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I'd be happily talk to them if she was selling sledgehammers at a Bunnings. Again, probably get some attention, but I don't think the 17-year-old girl who follows Kylie Jenner for her fashion is going to give a rat's about the sledgehammer.
The sledgehammer, yeah. Probably not.
At Bunnings. And then it was like once they used it for a week, it was like an 80% conversion rate, which is the highest I've ever seen.
Hello, Alex. Another episode of the podcast. Good to be chatting to you today.
Good to be back, Jack. Keen for the next episode.
I'm very keen. In this episode, we're asking the question that's on everyone's lips and always has been on everyone's lips. And, like there is talk around, people talk about big questions. What's the meaning of life? Yeah. This type of thing. No. Yeah. The real big question we're talking about today is, as you already know, can a B2B SaaS product do the Fyre Festival?
Yep.
As you've been asking, everyone's been asking. It will, this question penetrates most conversations.
It's had proven success before. Why can't it work for B2B SaaS stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's just what everyone's thinking. It's everyone's wondering.
Yeah. And for those confused as hell, the Fyre Festival, spelled F-Y-R-E, is a great documentary on Netflix. I suggest you check it out. There is a gentleman who was quite the salesman / swindler who basically had an idea to put on this festival in this remote island, high luxury, music festival that everyone would go to, would be sellout. And essentially he lied about all of it. But the point was, in a very short amount of time, he got investment because he promised the world, like some salespeople do, promised the world, got a heap of money for it, but then went really, really, really hard into influencer marketing. And it's actually quite interesting because he bought influencer ads from like the Kardashians and these famous musicians and all these big people. And within like weeks, it was like Instagram, social media was packed full of all these posts and all this awareness. And it was like you couldn't look left or right without seeing it. So he in a sense of, props to him, he got a lot of attention, a lot of interest. But because he got so hyped up and looked so amazing, he had these yachts that were like watching the festival, and it was like buy your tickets, and he had these overpriced tickets. It sold out. He sold out the festival. Problem was he wasn't a good executioner, so he spent all his money on the influencers, had no money for the festival. The tents were meant to be these luxury $1,000 a night tents, and they were like looked like things you get in like a storm shelter. And there was like dry bread was the only food. It was basically just an atomic issue. In the end, he lied. He didn't pay people. He went to jail. So it was a terrible ending. But the point was, when we say, can a B2B SaaS company do a Fyre Festival? Can a B2B SaaS company just go hard at influencer and ads and hype and brand and just go to town on it and build a massive amount of traction quickly?
And of course, the answer is yes.
Yeah, that's right, 100%. So Jack and I would like to invite you to the Fyre Festival. Tickets are $1,000 a piece. But I think there's a few things to this, right? Like sort of what we said then. I think there's a few for and against, and I think for it, so put some positives, which we'll try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Positives were he knew what worked. He knows that influencers by name, they do influence. And when you get enough people, and what do they call it, like social momentum or social proof, when you get enough people saying something is good or enough people saying something is bad, people believe it. And this is a very dark quote, so forgive me for saying this, but there is a famous quote that says, if you say something loud enough, long enough, and confidently enough, everyone will believe you. And that was said by Mr. Adolf Hitler. So, which is a terrible, terrible thing, but his point still stands. And, social media, we've got to be aware of this because everyone is very confident and saying stuff a lot. If someone like that can say it, it can be replicated, and be careful that just because everyone says something doesn't mean it's true, or you should listen to it as well. So, but the point was, if you say it loud enough, so can a B2B person do that? I think you can get, if we look at a B2B lead gen process, because that's what we want. We want people to come up and want to buy our stuff. It goes through the 4 phases of attention, awareness, interest, and engage. So that's attention. You need to basically get their eyeballs or ears on you first. Then you need to get them awareness. What do you do? Why do you do it? What's the point of it? I need to understand what you do. Third one is interest. Is it of interest to me? Pretty simple. Do I care about it? Do I want it? Do I like it? And the fourth one is, have you given me the opportunity, or do I care enough to then engage with you, to book a meeting, do a free trial, want to talk to you? So those 4 things there. I think old mate, the Fyre Festival, probably ticks the first 3, if I'm being honest. Like, hype it up. I mean, if something happened like that for a B2B product, I'd be interested. There's a product called Instantly, a product called Clay, and I think it might be a VC company, I don't know, called Exit 5. I don't know if you've seen them around on LinkedIn, but they've taken a very, very heavy influencer take on marketing, where they've spent all their, I don't know behind the closed doors, but basically a lot of influencers, and it even says on their bios, sponsored by Instantly or whoever it is. And basically these email marketers or these marketers create content talking about educational stuff, really interesting stuff, and they finish it with like, hey, here's how you can use Instantly to achieve all these things. And it's really powerful because you're like, oh, that's really cool. I'll go download it or I'll go buy it. So I think if you did something like that or whatever it looked like, heap of people, maybe attention, awareness, interest, and engage. But I think you would, my prediction is you'd come to a massive blockade at engage. I think because the difference is, I think for festival tickets or e-commerce or B2C, you can do, it isn't instantaneous. Like if you find, oh, here's a new hat for summer that all the celebrities are wearing and everyone likes and everyone thinks is cool. It's an instantaneous transactional buy. Oh yeah, I like that, I'll buy it. And you might regret it in a month, but it doesn't matter, you've already bought it. Whereas B2B SaaS and software it's not necessarily, do I think it's cool or do I like it? It's, is this going to help me? Like, do I need this? You have a single use case. Is this better what I'm doing? And then the 2 layers on top of that is there's change management and there's risk. So buying a hat, you can buy it and it doesn't change your life 1 iota. But if you buy a software and you have to use it, if it's too risky, if it's too much effort, if it's too much change management, you're not going to touch it. If you don't touch it in a month's time, you're probably going to cancel your contract. So I think there's a big issue there when it comes to helping people in B2B. Their marketing is helping people understand here is a better way of working, and you have to build the trust and change management to show that it's worth changing and switching for the foreseeable future. And there's an example of that I've used with a previous company. There's that it was a lower ticket item, and I say about $40, $50 a month, and we're getting low free trial rates. They weren't liking it, and we're pushing it, but we realized they didn't get it. They didn't understand why they were doing the free trial. They weren't using it properly. So we sort of noticed that, okay, they need a bit of a slow intro to this. So we have a setup and going on the website. They see a 1-minute animation video. So like, what is it? Why do I care? How does it work? And they go, okay, I get it now. That's really interesting. For those who are interested to go further, they'd click to watch a 15, 20-minute demo. And because they don't want to talk to salespeople, no one likes talking to salespeople. So they could watch it on their own leisure at night or whenever they want to watch it. They could see how it works line by line and go, actually, this is really cool. This actually could really help me. The next stage was they do the free trial. So they've seen how it works. They know the point of it. They understand how, all the bits and bobs. So then once they did it and they tested it, and then it was like, once they used it for a week, it was like an 80% conversion rate, which is the highest I've ever seen that I've ever been involved with. And it was like huge conversion rates, and the numbers weren't, obviously it teetered off every step. But the point was, we knew what the buyer in B2B had to understand, feel de-risked, feel like the effort wasn't high, see the value, and slowly transition their way into change. Because I think B2B change management, unlike e-commerce or anything else, is change management. You're changing an internal process of a business, is what I try to say on that. But I didn't take breath for about 5 minutes then. So I'm going to ask you, Jack, for Fyre Festival for B2B SaaS. Does it or does it not work?
Obviously it would work.
Okay.
Obviously. I think there's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind. For context on what these celebrities and these influencers did on Instagram, if people aren't aware, is everyone posted this just black square one day. So if you have, people might follow a few of them and they see this one black square coming up across a range of celebrities, you're going to go, wow, hang on, what is this about? So I get that was quite innovative in a way. So I started imagining like your Simon Sinek's of the world and like getting a few business influencers together, and they just all pose this black square on this day.
Alex Hormozy.
Yeah, like everyone does it at once.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I mean, I wonder, like, definitely, I think that would get attention though. Like, it would definitely, people would know whatever it is that's being promoted.
Yep.
I would make the point that there's also a question of commercial viability because the Fyre Festival, Billy McFarland, the founder, he went to jail and everything, obviously, because there was fraud and there was all these things involved. Could you afford to do it and make your money back? You know, like how much would you have to pay Simon Sinek to do this, and Alex Hormozy and Tim Ferriss, and like how much would you have to pay? Would you ever see that money come back? So there's a question of that, and I think, to my understanding of the Fyre Festival, it wasn't viable. They were paying, I think, Kendall Jenner up to $250,000 for it. It's you're in the hole, you know, from the start. So
expensive ad.
So is it? Yeah, like it was interesting, it got attention, but was it viable? You know, as well. So I think that's a interesting question to look at, and I can imagine like business influencers would cost a fortune to try and get them to do something like that.
And like, I guess hypothetically speaking, let's look at like, I mean, say you get 10 seconds from Tim Ferriss and he's a nice guy, he gives you a cheap deal, but you've got like, I think there's different, particularly today, I think there's different levels of influencers. Like I think there is like, they call them micro or nano influencers and stuff like that. And people talk a lot about like, everyone's on social media so often, you're probably following a bunch, like dozens of them. And the really high level ones, I hear more and more people being like, it's not worth it. They do a few ads, they get the attention, but they're too busy and no one takes it too seriously. You're better off, you go sort of lower down the chain, say instead of 10 million followers, someone's got 100,000 followers, which is a big audience. And I've heard ones people saying they'll do it for free if they get like access to your product. So I knew there was one about I don't know what they call like mum influencers, like talk about like baby products and ideas and courses and all these sorts of things. And there was ones of like anywhere between 10,000 to 100,000. And there was some that was saying like, hey, if you just send me some of your product, it was a pram or a shirt or whatever it was that you were selling, they'll promote it 3 times or something like that. For a smaller company, that's a lot. That's very affordable. And if you're getting exposure to say 100,000 and you get 30,000 views on each video, that's a good. I think that's pretty good. So I think looking at the different types, and then I think I would go deeper into looking at that example of Instantly and stuff like that, and saying, what is the influencer doing? If it's a video of Tim Ferriss on a beach talking about your product, probably does nothing. It gets a bit of intrigue. What is it? I don't really care. But if it was like Tim Ferriss using your B2B product and showing people like, hey, this is how, say for example, your product talks about landing pages. This is how I use my landing page using product X. That probably would work a little bit more. Probably a bit of trust, brand affiliation. The next step would be, to my point before, I think if you've got your funnel or your journey working well, and if it was like, hey, as soon as people see that, they click the link, they see the video, they show how it works. You've got to hope to God, whoever it's meant for, marketers or salespeople, whoever it's meant for, sees the right thing and uses it. I think it could work to an extent, but to your point then, don't use 99% of your budget on the ad and don't back it up with whatever happens next after that. Because I think with B2B SaaS too, it's like you can do all those things and get them there, which is probably a good thing. And I think founders should be doing a version of that themselves. Like I always say, founders should be campaigning your product like a politician, going on guest spots, talking about your own webinars, writing, like get out there, talk about it, be the leader. But then once you get that attention, you've got to do something with it. Bring it to the page, whatever that end is, free trial, book a meeting, blah, blah, blah. And then also you need to prove it to them and go, this is the right thing for you. And what I like about subscription stuff is that you have to actually follow through with what you do. If you're selling dodgy shoes, all you got to do is get purchases and hope to God they don't tell their friends. But if you're a product, you get a month into it, you're like, this is crap, exit, I'm done. Like it has to be, how you have to stand by whatever you're saying.
Yes.
Do I think it could work? Don't do a Fyre Festival. No, I wouldn't. But I think having a version of it, using the principles of it,
yeah.
I think so. Using influencers.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll be thinking of influencers, yes, at that lower level, but also that's probably a more sustainable partnership as well, rather than this flash in the pan
That's true.
type of thing. Which, you know, in all honesty, those guys like who I was mentioning before just wouldn't probably do it anyway. They just probably wouldn't do it.
Yep.
Like it would be more brand damage than it's worth.
Yep.
And you know, unless you have so much money, like an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they do it. So
I think there's like, to your point then, I think if you're going after the Tim Ferriss, who's just, what is he, like business influencer in general, or Simon Sinek culturally, whatever he is, I think that's extreme. I think if I was your point, then you are right. It is more of a partnership deal. It's got to be a win-win. But I would go, there's people out there there's so many influencers now that you can find specific ones. So you can find a e-commerce email marketing expert. That's specific. And I know some who have 50,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I'd be happily talk to them. Some are getting like 1 million a month of engagement of like impressions. If I can get a piece of that, that's amazing. So yeah, I think looking at those ones, I think going to Kendall Jenner, asking her to promote your product, you might get a lot of attention and traction and traffic, but traffic probably won't do shit. So
probably not in that case. And I have heard of examples in influencer marketing where there has been some enormous people with large followings promoted something and resulted in hardly any, notable business improvement.
Yep.
Yeah, it can happen because it's just it's the wrong audience with the wrong brand, and they're not. It's not what they talk about. That's not who they are. That's not why people follow them. Yep,
and it goes that we were saying the fundamentals of marketing again, right? To persona, what they want, their need. To your point, if I was what's her name, Kylie Jenner does like her lipstick stuff, I think, and it's like that makes sense. That's probably affiliated with her brand, the company's brand, her followers, what they want, what they don't want. If she was selling, sledgehammers at a Bunnings, again, probably get some attention, but I don't think the 17-year-old girl who follows Kylie Jenner for her fashion is going to give a rat's about the sledgehammer.
The sledgehammer, yeah. Probably not.
At Bunnings. Hopefully she tells her dad by affiliation.
Yeah, right. Well, it's not something I'd do. It's not something I would go with go get massive influencers for your B2B SaaS product myself. It's sorry to ruin it, but
more partnerships than influencers is your thinking.
Yeah, if we're going to relate it to Fyre Festival promotion.
Yep.
I mean the Fyre Festival was impressive in the sense that it just came out of nowhere. It was just nothing, and then it's just everyone was talking about it.
Yep.
So that was, I guess, impressive if you look over the fraud and all the other problems.
It's interesting the virality, right? Because the people who don't understand marketing or think, make a post go viral or make this thing, and it's like, I would say that it's probably worse to do it for a B2B product, because you say, okay, let's do that thing about the black squares on Instagram or whatever it is, the green squares for your new thing. Again, attention, awareness, I reckon it would have a huge spike. Hopefully you do something to drive that traffic somewhere, get them to look at something, move them onto the right spot. But going viral will go extreme up and extreme down, and you'll be back to where you started.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. And virality is not sustainable.
No, it's not, which is annoying. Yeah. If I could just go viral everything I said.
Yep.
I'd appreciate that.
Kendall Jenner.
I would appreciate that. So, yeah. Okay. Can a B2B SaaS product do the Fyre Festival? Yes, of course. That's my answer.
Prove us wrong.
And yours is?
No. Definitely not. No.
All right. We will see you all soon.
Awesome.